Professor SrAdv, the convener of this program, young students, and many of you all have this tag of youth. So you all have already segregated us, not belonging to the youth community. We also belong to your community. And first of all, coming to this college had a special purpose, especially for me, because I had been a close observer of history and I have been studying so many great freedom fighters, and one of them was Shahid Bhagat Singh. The life of Shahid Bhagat Singh is important because at young age, because he passed away at 23. He died, he was hanged, but Delhi University has a special connection with himself. I had been to the room of registrar of Delhi University. I think most of you must have visited. If not, then please try to visit there. You will find in that room, there is a place where it is written, this is the room where Lady Mountbatten was proposed by Lord Mountbatten. And in the other room, where the Vice Chancellor's room, that was the bedroom of Lady Mountbatten and Lord Mountbatten. But when you go below, there is a ballroom. And one room is there. That was the room in which Shahid Bhagat Singh was kept on the way to Lahore. And he was there for 5-6 days. They have maintained it properly. They have tried to recreate those days in that room. You must visit sometimes when you get time. This kind of program, and especially where youth is involved, some kind of creativity, which generally, because of generation gap, many of us miss it, is really appreciable. I am sorry because I had to attend, my cricket team was playing, so I had to play the cricket match, Supreme Court Cricket Bar Association's cricket tournament. And deliberately I ran out because I had to attend this program. You see, most of you, when I observe the faces of you all, I find the dreams are there. You all have very positive energy. The smile on the faces of all these youth is really innocent, which is normally, it will start missing. When you grow older, the innocence will disappear. You may be successful in life, but ultimately you will realize that the best time of your life was when you spend the time in your college. And that's why whenever I get an opportunity to visit any college, I don't miss it. Other than this, we have a special responsibility to interact with young students. Unfortunately or fortunately, I belong to legal fraternity. Many of you, if you choose to join that fraternity, I will be a great help. But if you are not joining that, it doesn't mean that you are not going to be guided. Obviously, some other persons will be there who will be guiding you. But I always prefer anyone, any youth I find energetic, anybody I find intelligent, I tell them, why don't you join legal profession? And I am happy and I am grateful to find so many universities, so many colleges and many other faculties abroad. They have accommodated our lawyers, law students, and they are doing very well. The concept here was peace and sustainable development and conflict management. You see, Mahatma Gandhi started this mediation process. You must have heard that is especially for conflict resolution money in India. Prior to him, it was a very well-known, renowned concept. Originally, Sher-Shah Suri, he did it in some sense when GT Road was being constructed. At that point of time, lands were acquired for construction of those roads and all kind of guest houses and some other things were made. In those days, a kind of mediation process was there, and through that mediation process, compensations were paid. If you go prior to that, then the society itself, our Indian society traditionally, it was completely inter-conflict management. If any dispute is there, most of us have the basic learning of conflict management because at home, if you have some fight, your parents settle it. Sometimes they settle it with love, and sometimes they settle it appropriately. Most of you must have faced it and recognize it, you all are also going to have the same way and find out the same style to deal with those society. Originally, whenever we read or we think about the Indian society, the society is completely built on the concept of peace. Whenever a Hindu start the prayers, this is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhna, Sarve Santu Niramaya. So you pray for the peace of everyone. Then the tolerance was also there. If you read the Kabir Das, you will find that Kabir Das has written so many poetries attacking Hindus and Muslims both. He attacked Muslims that काकर पाकर जोड़ के मस्जिद दियो बनाए ताचर मुल्ला बात है क्या भरा हुआ खुदा है. Again he attacks this Hindus Pandits that दस्या के पावन कर सोए ये देखो पंडिताई. So this kind of poetry, this kind of writing during Akbar's time, Mughal rule, if it was accepted, do you imagine that even now somebody can write all this against the community? And if they write, you will find something or other on the streets. So tolerance part is must. Whenever you are going to indulge into healthy discussion, we all must have connected with each other. We all must feel that what is the other views, and other view has to be respected. Jung is not the resolution. Sometimes we all see that if you are fighting, sometimes we all message and say that this war was inevitable, and because of that, we had to enter into war. Like in Kargil, it was forced, India was forced to fight. But ultimately, Sahib Rujwani's saying is there कि जंग खुद एक मसला है, जंग समाधान थोड़ी हो सकता है. तो आप जंग से बचना है, हमारे अंदर की कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से हमको बचना है. और जब कभी you all, when you start fighting with each other on some issues, if it is intellectual contest, it is always welcome because it sharpens your mind. Sometimes when you feel that you are losing this contest, intellectual contest, you start feeling, no, I will not have this person as a friend because he always talk nonsense. But you should always see and feel that nonsense is also welcome. Because in the society, when you start working, such nonsense people will also create one of the opinion, and that opinion you have to counter or you have to respect. So ultimately, your opinion is not final. The opinion of majority sometimes, opinion of relevance sometimes, and sometimes if you don't get a stage, even if you want to give some opinion on a subject, you can't give that. So primarily we have to focus on few things. That is your self-development. And self-development is must because unless you achieve some height, your opinions and your views will not be heard. Today you may be right, but despite being right, sometimes you may find that somebody whose concept, whose views are completely unacceptable is being imposed on you. And when it is being imposed on you, you have to remember one thing, that unless you achieve something, it will not be heard, not be resolved. So primarily all these young minds and young students, I request you to make a goal of your life. And that goal should be that once I achieve this, I can do such things. Many of young students who come to us, some of them they say, sir, we are working for NGOs. And I tell them that I request you not to work for any NGO at all. First you achieve success. And once you achieve success, just because of merely making one phone call, can do the service which you are doing now for days and not getting the intended result. So first of all, you all have to achieve success. Such kind of programs, especially on peace, are very relevant, very important, because whenever you try to fix any issue with the different concepts and different eras, you will find the different modes which have been adopted. Like in Indian history, if you go to this Mahajanpat Kal, then you will find that the judicial system was a bit different. Kasi was functioning differently, Kaushal was functioning differently, Magar was functioning differently. Vaisali, they had different system of administration itself. Then gradually when you come down even Islam, we all know that when the 712, this Muhammad bin Qasim, when he attacked India, and that those days was Gandhar, the king of Afghanistan, Dahir was attacked, and they kidnapped two of his daughters and they brought them to Arabia, and there those girls, they mentioned the incident that they were raped by Muhammad bin Qasim, and Muhammad bin Qasim was granted death sentence because of that. Can you imagine the same thing? Even now the wars are happening and atrocities and cruelty is happening in many of the countries. So those days when this the generations of Islam, they were following the peace, but same is not being followed in Afghanistan. Currently Taliban is ruling. So society and administration and rule and then ultimately interpretation of those principles is changed from time to time. And when it changes, at that point of time you have to use your vision, you have to use your concept that how it is going to function. If there was no peace prior to even, this is not a correct statement. Even was made by the interested parties, in my opinion, because when you ignore many of the countries who were actually having the largest number of population, it means you are not doing service to the world. Your goal is motivated, your goal is welfare, because you are taking care of only a few developed countries and they are the permanent members, others are just being the member of that elite club, I will say that. Because when America is doing something, that is not objectionable, but India does, or any other country does, it's objectionable, because even may interfere. Whenever you see this Indo-China war, you will find that because of in 1962, India could not go to UN. Because India had wrongly or rightly in 1961, during the liberation of Goa, they used armed forces and Portugal government has complained against India, and because of that India has lost the immunity or the right to complain before the UN authorities. Otherwise India would have gone to the UN. First of all, any system, any kind of sociology or society or stratification, you all must know the basics of law. That how this system is going to work, the basics of contract. Because whenever two persons are dealing with each other, you all have to write down something. So basics of contract, basics of the laws in which you all are going to be governed. Like you all know 420. You all know 302. Why? Because normally you see these sections, most of you know 376. You all are from law students. So basics of law you must adopt. Basics of international conventions you should adopt. Other than this, the environmental laws, because when somebody is felling the tree, somebody is deforesting the area, somebody is changing the course of river, ultimately the sufferers will be public in general. So, my dear young persons, young students and this youth, I request you all that whenever you are going to develop your personality, you must add some flavor into it, and that flavor should be of law, contract, which you are going to face day by day. Like even for a rent of a house, you have to read that. So most times the fight, the conflict between the society is motivated because of the vested interest, even between the countries. Sometimes, like Paris Convention of the Environment, they added something but they exclude themselves. So you can't add everyone and excluding yourself that this rule is applicable for everyone, and then the very star is there other than me. It should not be applicable on me. It can't work. When you frame a rule, it has to work for everyone. I am grateful to the society that they had invited me in this function. Normally I prefer interacting with everyone, so I don't know that this kind of subjects are generally boring. Whenever we talk on such subjects, it's generally boring because you don't feel. Like Changiz Khan incident, I will just narrate, and then Bhagat Singh's one incident I will say that you must be remembering Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Ashfaqullah Khan. When Ashfaqullah Khan was advised to become the government witness, prosecution witness, he declined. He said, I can't make a statement against my friend. And that was the reason he was hanged, otherwise he would have been saved. 4 of other persons who made the statement and they became prosecution witnesses without seeing the incident and without participating, they were left. So when you all are working for something positive and any intended result, there are some sacrifices there. Mostly the religious tolerance is required, because whenever you are attacking the other religion, like you attack that why this Hindu temples are using this, why these Muslims are shouting on such and such, why their society is especially given some privilege to this community or that community, then you have to go in the beginning, the primary object and the primary formation of those laws and the society, then only you will have the reference. Like many of us, we talk about Kashmir, that Kashmir would have been part of India if some of the political leaders of those days, they would have acted differently. At that point of time, you have to learn that there were 3 states, Junagadh, Hyderabad and Kashmir. These 3 states were decided to be the part of the country in which the public of the state wants. Because initially we did not want to lose Hyderabad and Junagadh. So because of the magnanimity of those days leaders, I don't name anyone, we got Hyderabad and Junagadh because public of both states, they were in favor of India. Thereafter, when Kashmir issue came, we said no, we are not going to interfere in this. It will be decided by the king. So we took a completely different turn. And because of that, ultimately Pakistan also could not attack directly, because those days the head of both the nations and Governor General of both the nations were the same man. The defense forces were the same. The head of Indian Defense Army was also controlling the army chief of Pakistan. So they were not in the opinion to have this kind of contest, and Raja Hari Singh was also not signing any accord. So ultimately, when he signed, the part which would not have been part of India, that was part of India. Initially, Kashmir would have been a different country, but ultimately these are the facts. So whenever we make a statement other than consulting the WhatsApp or any other general YouTube website, we must consult the books, authentic writings, and that will give you a different kind of perspective, and others will also get convinced. So the same rules are applicable. Our life is full of conflict, but we all resolve the issues. We are trying to find out the peace there. The peace concept is not different from 2 friends, 2 nations, or the globally. Because this entire classroom, if you consider it a globe, everybody has some different things. Like you give any option, others will choose some other thing. Even if you want to have some food at home, 9 members may give 9 things. That today we want this. And ultimately, at some point of time, we all settle, no, this is okay. We should have this. So the person who did not opt any of the things in that menu, he also have to consume the same food. Similarly, when you are dealing with the international concept, the food converts into some mines, it converts into some excavation, it converts into some fundamental rights, some visiting rights. So this kind of system works, and it has to expand it. The moment you expand your thoughts, the same thought, which is individualistic, becomes global. And the concept of peace is not different from the peace of between the 2 parties, to the 2 nations and the global. So ultimately, I congratulate because you all are mulling on an important subject, and this subject is ultimately going to help you all and going to policy you all. And because of that, you all will have some kind of interaction, some kind of thoughts, and if you do it regularly on different subjects, your thought process will be different. I congratulate everybody. Thank you so much.